Welcome back to your arbitrary YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful structured cape design. Okay, we're going to be making this with crinoline and boning. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to make this, I'm going to be working with this satin fabric as my main fabric as my lining. You can use another fabric as your lining if you want. Then I'm also going to use this crinoline. The crinoline is about 2.5 inches or so. Okay, so it's almost 3 inches, around 2.5 inches. So if you have a wider crinoline, you can also use it so that it will cover more space for you. But this is what I have, so this is what I'm going to be using. I'm also going to use this gum stay. Okay, you can use a collar stay, or the collar stay may be too stiff, so you can just use an air stay. But I'm using this gum stay. Okay, then you need boning for your edges, so you can use this Reggiline boning or you use the plastic bone, whichever one is fine. And lastly, I'm going to use this hemming gum to attach my crinoline. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to take the measurement of where you're going to be placing this. This will pass through the shoulder and then come to the front a little bit, so you need to take the measurement of that area. For me, I'm just going to be working with 45 inches for the purpose of this tutorial. So I'll measure a length of 45 inches, and then the width that I'm going to work with is around 15 inches. So because I said this is going to be my main fabric and my lining, I'm just going to cut the two together. So I'm putting my fabric on fold. Okay, so this length that I have here is already 45 inches, so I'm just leaving it as it is. Then I'll put this on fold now and then measure 15 inches on fold for my lining and my main fabric, and then I'm going to cut this out. So I have put it on fold now. I just reduce the size so that the camera can take it off. So now I'm cutting off the excess. So after cutting off the excess, I'm going to go ahead and cut my interfacing the same way. Okay, and then I'll gum my interfacing on the lining alone. Okay, so you can gum it on your lining and your main fabric, but I'm just gumming this on my lining alone, and then you can separate it. So this is the lining, this is the main fabric, so you can actually separate it, but because I'm going to use them to turn out each other, that's why I just decided to leave it as it is. So now I have folded it just like this, in such a way that my lining is facing me like this, and this is my main fabric facing the other side. So now I'll cut the size of this interfacing to fit my lining, and then I'll take it to the dining table and then fuse them together. Okay, so I have added the interfacing on the lining, so you can see the interface just makes it a little rough. That's why I prefer to leave my main body split bare like this, and then just add the interfacing on the lining part. So the next thing to add now is my crinoline. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and sew you can either sew this crinoline to the lining part, so that by the time you turn it out, your seam line is not going to show on the main body. So you just arrange it along the length, which is the 45 inches, not the 15 inches. So you arrange it like this, and then you sew it down, or you just use your hemming glue to gum them together. So what you just need to do now is to cut your hemming glue, place it underneath it, and then place your crinoline on it like this, and then you iron it. So once you iron it, it's going to glue the both of them together. So there are several ways you can actually hide your crinoline. You can also cut your crinoline 45 inches long, and then you sew them separately. You just sew them to each other first. You sew your crinoline, so this is the first one, then you take another one and then you just place it by the side and sew. So after you have sewed everything to contain this space, you can now bring it in and then sew on just the side. I hope you understand that. So to do that, all you just need to do is to cut out the 45 inches length in multiple places that is going to fill this up. So you need about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 to 6 is going to be enough for to fill up this space with this size of crinoline. So after cutting your 5 inches 5 crinoline in 45 inches, all you just need to do is to place them by the side and then sew them a little bit so that they can all be together, and then they will fill up the space for you at once. So I'll take this now to the ironing table now and then iron it to my, and then use my hemming glue to gum them together. Okay, so this was what I was trying to explain. You can see now that I have gone ahead to join them together and they are all together. So I use this lemon thread so that you can see where I joined it. So you use the matching color of thread, it's just going to rhyme with each other. So this is easier because with this you are sure that you're not going to have any spaces in between your crinoline because they are already fused together. But if you are placing them one after the other, it may still give you a little bit of space and you don't like the effect that's going to give you. So this is how you're going to sew them together, and now you can either sew it on just one line like this to your lining, or you just use your hemming glue again to fuse it together, whichever one is fine. Okay, so I have fused the crinoline to it. You can see it. So if you don't have a crinoline, you can also use a hard net. Okay, so the hard net will still give you something nice. So if you don't have a crinoline, you don't have to worry. So now after fusing it, the next thing is to sew them now all around so that you can turn it out. So if you are using a regular boning that you can sew on, all you just need to do after folding it into two like this, you just place the regular boning on the edges. Okay, you can see that my crinoline did not get to the edge. Okay, so this is the regular bone. You just place it on the edges and then you sew it on both sides. So you sew it on this side as well as the other side. But if you're working with a plastic bone which is stronger and you cannot sew on, all you just need to do now is to sew. After sewing the first seam for turning, you sew another one that is enough to size your plastic bone. This is 1/2 inch. So after making the first stitch, I'm going to make another stitch just beside this, and it's enough to size this bone that I have. So that's going to create the channel that you need to pass your bone through. So you sew it twice like that. I'll go and sew mine now and bring it back to show us what it looks like. So I have sewn it on both sides. I'm fixing a plastic bone to mine, so you can see my seam line. Let me turn to this side so that I can see well. So now I've sewn it on both sides. So now I'm going to turn it out, and then after turning it out, I'll go ahead and create the channel that I need for the bone. Okay, so I have turned it to the right side now, and after turning it to the right side, you iron it well, or you top stitch on it. Then after that, you are going to sew 1/2 inch, just enough to pass your plastic bone through it. So I have created the channel. The next thing now is for me to just insert my bone in between the channel. So you can see my seam line now, and it's 1/2 inch, enough to take my bone. So now I'll just insert it into it from here, and then I'll push it inwards. So this is me inserting it, and then you gently pass it in. But if you're working with a regular bone, you just need to sew it and turn. You don't need to go through all of this, but I just feel this is stronger. So okay, so you can see now once you pass it in, it's going to give it even more structure. So passing it now, you make sure you leave up to like 1 or 1/2 inch here to sew it on this side, and then you leave like 1/2 inch on the other side as well. So I'm going to pass this. Okay, so I have passed the boning now, and you can see the structure that I have there. So like I said here, I'm just going to cut off like 1 inch or 1/2 inch. Remember, it's a plastic bone and you cannot sew on it. So after cutting it off, you can go ahead now and take it to the sewing machine and sew it here so that it doesn't move around. You do that to the two sides, and the last thing to do now is to pleat this. Okay, so now you're just going to place it like this. So the first thing, you can first serge this place, or you just turn it out neatly anyhow you want, so that it's going to be neatly finished. Then after doing that, you are going to form your pleat. So you just take pleats here like this, and then just give something smaller, and then you hold with a stitch, and then you go to the other side, and then you pleat in the same direction that you have done for the first side. So you just pleat this as well, and then you hold it down with your stitch. So I have pleated it, as you can see, on both sides. So like I said, you can serge this place so that it's going to be neat. So now I'll take this to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. So this is this is what it looks like on the mannequin. So you just need to sew it or tack it down anywhere you want to place it. So if you are sewing it externally like this, you make sure this rough edge is neat, and then after sewing it down, you just cover it with a trimming or something just to make it neat. And if you are sewing it to a neckline, you can just turn it with your lining so that it can be neatly turned. So you can see how it looks like on the side, and this is what the front view looks like. You can see how beautiful it is, and the boning we added to it just makes it stand perfectly as you are seeing it. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.